Okay, this is a experiment really to see how if I can use depth maps to do a sort of specific illustration. So where I start is the way I would normally start this drawing. So I'll start with a sketch, have our main figure. I think it's coming downstairs there. I think it's a she. I think she's coming from there, whatever that is, and she's coming down some steps. They're always difficult. Horizon is, think about there. A little bit of interest. I don't want to make too much of that really. Steps vanish around the corner, sort of rocky stuff. This is the sort of stuff I quite like to let the AI imagine. So because it's quite good at that sort of thing. So I want my steps quite precipitous, and I want various distances of rock. Anyway, so that looks sort of alright. I think we want a bit of a castle down here. That's all going down there, and then we've got some sort of distance here. I'm not quite sure what that's going to be. Maybe there's a distant castle or something. But we have our various placements. The next thing to do is to split each area into a layer. So we've got sky, we've got this castly bit, we've got the foreground. I think we'll include that in the foreground, and then we've got the distant stuff. Then finally the sky. So we've got a few different layers to be made into different tones, and I also want to get a line drawing to use in Canny as well as additional as additional guide. Because the thing I think with AI, and I'm free to disagree with me, is you have to leave the AI room to imagine. So if you make everything decided, then you sort of lose out on the advantage of the medium. So if you try and make everything too specific as well, I found you get poor quality generations because it's trying to squeeze a certain stuff. That's my theory anyway. It could be wrong. So I'll flatten that all onto a single background layer and split it into its two layers. The figure will have to be finished. Strangely enough, the figure is something I might well allow it to make, because it often makes very good figures, or at least it'll make a figure I can imagine upon and improve. And we'll lighten that. Then we'll cut out this layer here. Finally, we have our distance, and then lastly the sky. So that's our layers. And my next stage will be to work on these to refine them, which you don't need to see really. I now need to produce my depth map. So what I'll make is a new layer, and I'll select a strip of it down here, and I'll put a gradient. Then I want to posterize this into however many strips. Right, so I'm going to do my distances on a new layer here with a different brush. The nearest stuff is going in black, and we'll just sort of decide, and then we'll go up through the tones here. So this is the next layer away. Then you can tidy this up. This doesn't have to be terribly neat in my experience, as long as we get a good succession of tones. I'm giving hints as to the steps. I'm hoping the Canny layer will deal with that. So there we've got a succession of tones, and I'm going to hide everything except for that now and just tidy this up. So that's our first depth map, and then we need to do our next layer. Now we need to, and I do the same here. I pick my colours, but we adjust the relative distances in a moment in a different way, you'll see. So this can be simpler still. So now we need to adjust them to cram the tones together. So we want a full spray of tones, and take them right back to that with the levels. So we still got the same spray of tones in there, but they're crammed together now. Same with this, full spray of tones, hue saturation. Take them down until they're quite crammed together, and then bring them up in lightness because they're further away. And then our distance here, the same job, except I am just going to select the area and fill it with a gradient. Take that down below the drawing. We can hide our top gradient now. I don't know where that has come from. So again, do levels, which is fine. Needs to go lighter, but not as light as the sky. There we go, there's our depth map. We'll invert it, and that should work in Comfy. We'll see. So the next stage, we need to produce our line for the Canny. So what I've got to do is produce a simple crisp line nothing fancy at all. And I need to follow the edges of my depth map pretty accurately. We can come back at any stage, and if we get areas where it has lost the plot, we can always come back. Right, so that is our line work. So we can get rid of the original line work. So we'll change that, call that sketch. We'll call this layer Canny, and then invert the line work and save that off as our Canny layer. And that's it. Off to ComfyUI to see if any of it works. Okay, so here we are in Comfy, and as you see, here's our maps dropped in. Clearly, I'm starting them at Norton. I need to give it some leeway. So that's 9.5. It doesn't mean a great deal. This is just from 1. So it's all pretty plain vanilla weights, but I'm ending at 6 so it's ending at 60%. It's doing 6 steps with the ControlNets going, and then it's doing 4 steps of imagination. So that's a variable. My prompt is literally hardly more than a list of what is in the scene. So I've beautiful sorceress. That's setting the tone and it's making her the most important thing. So she's a sorceress. She's got a slight smile. That's to make her face you rather than face away. She's alone. That's the stuff extra sorceress is, which is a curse we all know and love. And then we got stone steps, rocks, castle, distant valley, river, clear sky, morning light. So we have a look at see if we've got everything. So here's the first result, which is pretty good. I've had worse. So we can see the things it hasn't understood. So the tone, zoom out a little bit. The tone of this distant castle and roofs is too light. Joined it onto the steps. You see here. I don't mind that actually, but if we want to control that, we can. And this here, it's joined on. It's made into the distance, so it's not taking it from the steps. But I think if this goes back a bit, then that'll be fine. And this here can go back a bit as well. So this bit can go a little bit darker. That whole section can go a little bit darker, and hopefully it will then split it up the way we want. I quite like it the way it is. It's quite nice. Far from displeased with that. The figure. I should have drawn the figure more carefully, shouldn't I? But it has been pretty faithful. If we look at the Canny here, it's been pretty faithful to my rather bad drawing. It's even got the hands in the same place. I can now think of compositional things. Do I want her as that small there? I could have her larger here. Maybe put her on a platform here. So any of these changes I can now do. First thing I'll do is I'll alter the tone of this, and we'll see if we get an improvement. Okay, so here we are back in Photoshop. So the first thing to do is take our castle, and remember this is inverted, so we want to lighten, which will make it darker, our castle there. And I think I want to lighten this bit of castle as well, which is all quite nice. Do we want to go any further than that? What we could do is so we haven't altered anything, that means we don't have to alter our line work at all. So we can flatten this off and take it into Comfy. Okay, here we are back in Comfy. There's our map, and here's the result. So we've got a few problems, but not many. We've got a second person appearing there, but we can deal with that. But we now have it understanding pretty well. We've got almost everything in the right place, doing the right thing. So we've got our castle up here. We got our castle here exactly as ordered. We have our rather dreadful lady. We'll deal with her in a moment. We have very boring stuff here, but again we can deal with that. And we have our castle, and we have our distant castle, and we have our river. We have everything in our prompt, I think. She has a cape. She's not alone. We'll deal with that though. Stone steps, rocks, castle, distant valley, river, clear sky, morning light. We've got everything in our prompt and everything in our two maps as well in the right mix. I might darken this yet more, and she needs to be remade. So what I want to do is I want to bring her down the steps. I think I want her about here. We might cut the steps off there and put something else in there. So what we want to do is we'll cut our steps off there, we'll move our hero figure down, maybe even to there, and we need a better lady rather than a lady who's gone out and forgot to put her trousers on. And we need to put some plants or trees or shrubbery in here. But we'll go off into Photoshop and see if we can produce something that'll prompt that. So this is the next stage. I've done a very, very quick scribble with line and shape for my revamped figure. So the lines are for the Canny, and the shape is obviously, you know what that's for. So I've now got to a scene here, and look at the few things I've got to do. I've got to lighten the castle again. It was still too light, which means the distance has to be lightened as well, just so we can get a bit of a tiny difference. It only needs to be a very tiny difference. So that might work better. My girl is going. Oh girl, there she goes. I shall delete her, and then I can put her replacement in. So I've got to put both the line and so I should put them both in and scale them together. Now I need to know how my Canny changes as well. So we can select her and position her on whatever step we want. I think that looks nice. And the old Canny, we have to erase the previous figure. So there she is. That's my new Canny layer. So I can copy that all and save that as Canny 2. We need to also make that our new Canny layer. So we can get rid of the lines there, and we can put back all of this. Now she needs to go as dark as I can possibly get her, and hopefully that will make her nice depth map. There's no detail in her. There is a means of making detail in her later from if we get but it'll depend on us getting a nice generation. We'll see that then. There's a couple of things I don't like, but now I see her silhouette. So I'll save all that, invert it, and that's our new map. Probably this little bit here is that little tiny bit too dark, is it? No, I think it's her that's too dark. So we'll select her and knock her back ever so slightly. There we go. So we'll go and test that, and then we can, if that works fine, we can start to deal with the trimmings. So here we are in Comfy, and I've put the new maps, the depth map and the Canny map in, and this is the result, which I think you have to say is pretty on the money. We just go back to our maps. We've got the right face angle. We've got holes in the cape. Got a very nice colour scheme. I very much like. We've now got proper separation. We've got our castle down here. This has turned into because I forced it away, and I quite like it being like that. That's fine. Sometimes I alter the depth map and the Canny map to match what I have in a generation, sort of go with the flow, as it were. And the whole lot has improved generally. The lighting is better, light to dark is better. I got to think now, do I want a bit of tree or plant in this corner? I'm not entirely sure. I think probably not. I think the simpler the image, the better. She's a little out of contrast with the... But I think I'll go on to the next stage, which is to do some image to image with it, using this image here, which I could edit. I can now edit this to make it more how I like it, and we'll go and do that in Photoshop. It just shows how you can make an image exactly as you want it, rather than just accepting what the AI gives you, which I'm afraid you would have to say most images produced are not made by the person who produces them, who clicks the button and writes the words. They're made by the AI. They're what you're given. Now, some things obviously the step. She's going to take a tumble, this girl, but that's fine. To me, that is a Photoshop job. I dare say on another generation, another seed, I would get a nice fit. And also her shadow, she should be coming. I suppose her shadow is fine. I would put a bit of darkening and a bit of other shadow in, but again, rather than trying to generate that, I would tend to do it in Photoshop because it's quicker and easier. Why wouldn't I? So here we are in Photoshop, and I've loaded in. This is the first generation, and I've loaded in the depth map and the Canny map, so we can see the two overlay. So you can see how the AI has moved things around. Not that much really. Well, you know, distant cast on the spot. The main annoying thing is her foot has moved, which has moved it off the step. Damn! But I can't do much about that. I've done a few little alterations to the depth that might fix it. That can only really be sorted. Well, I would sort it in Photoshop, to be honest. It'll be a quicker job, and I will get rid of some of the Canny lines, like so, that haven't found a home, just in the foreground here really. I think they're all fine. Now I want a bush, so I'll drag that in. I'm not completely certain I want this bush, but we'll see. So there's our bush, and this very much depends on whether I can get it into a position I like. So I've got to add that to my Canny, just to give it the idea that there's a bit of a bush there. And once it's got the idea there's a bit of a bush, it might put a bit elsewhere. If I only have to put a few clues in, and it'll go looking. So that's the Canny layer done. I can remove that. Darken this very, very slightly behind it, but very, very slightly. There we go. And I think that'll be fine. So that's my new depth map. And I'm going to do something else now. I'm going to cut out, because I want to refine her. So I'm going to just take her, and I'm going to copy her. Then I'm going to resize it to 1024. And I'm going to use this file to refine her. And finally, we have refined colour. Now we have refined colour. Lose a bit of a foot, I don't think it's going to matter. And now I need to save out my new Canny map. And you can see by working in this way, I have complete control really. And of course I can backtrack as well to any version I want. So we'll save this file off. So here we are with our version 3 and 4 maps logged in, and this is how it generates. We've lost the sun behind her, which I think I don't mind. I think I'm fine with that. Brought a little more light. It's brought a little more light into here. There's a couple of things I don't like. We've lost. We've gained the rocks all over there. These are very minor things. I would do a few different seeds to see what variations I got at that. My next. I think that's my next thing to do. So a few different seeds to get one I can use for image to image to decide on the style and the overall feel of the picture. At the moment it's a plain vanilla illustration style that Dreamshaper does, which I think is quite nice. But I might want to personalise the style a little bit more. And she got a short arm as well, which is rather annoying. I can deal with that though. By just a little bit alterations of the map. She's probably got a short arm on the map, so I go and look. Not really, it's gone and wrongified it. Never mind, I can always lengthen the arm. Okay, so I'll stop recording now because I'm going to do a few batches. I'll do a batch of 4 and see if we can get a really good seed. So the batch of 4, I didn't like any of the other 3. One was okay, but this one is quite good. So it has a couple of things I want to change. One is I want the steps to come more towards us so that she's coming down them. So that's good, that's our steps aiming towards us a little bit more. I have to now take that into my master. There we have our new Canny map, and to finish the job I can have a look how the depth map is. I don't think the depth map needs anything doing to it at all. So there we go. The next move is to save this layer. Now my original seed and this one were pretty good, so I actually think I prefer, back in Comfy, I think I preferred the original seed, but this one's fine. So the next move is to refine the figure. So I want to add a load image, and we'll whack that in instead of our latent image. Put that down there, and we'll load in our refined color image, and also the refined depth and the refined Canny. And next I want to consider how much more I want to say about her. I want to change the prompt as little as possible, but I can say a few more words about her, which is all nice. And I've got to increase the denoise, so we want the image changed not too much really. Shall we say 65, 0.65? So we've said a little bit more about her. We didn't want to say too much, so I'll cue the prompt on that. So she's back, and we've got some good things, we've got bad things. The body and stance has improved quite a lot, but the face has gone downhill. But that doesn't really matter, because I can always drop that face on. And this isn't the final refine on the figure either. The final refine will be done when I've done the styling on the figure, and I'll actually cut a 1024 piece out of her there, and just do her face. But now I can allow the model a little more leeway on how it changes things. So I'll take the denoise up to 7.5. So I'm just loosening the reins a little bit, and I'll take the strength of the Canny down to 7.5, and the same with the depth. This gives the AI a little bit more room for manoeuvre, but it raises the chances of us having a bad, or multiple people, or the usual elements that AIs have. So we'll cue that. Here she is back, and she's a lot better. Dodgy hands, but that's the least of our worries, because she's got quite a nice stance. She's on the step nicely, and she will drop into the other image fine. So that's the next thing to do, is to go back to Photoshop, and we'll make the image we're going to use for the final styling with LoRAs, etc., to get a bit of style quality in there. We drop her into that. So I think she's quite nice. I don't really want to alter her at all. I think she's absolutely lovely. So I think we can flatten her down onto that base, and I want the steps from the straightened out steps. So those steps are much nicer. So that's our beauty pass. Our what we're going to do the LoRA on. So we're now going to work on the style of the image. So we're going to refine now. Canny 4. So we're going to refine now. We want depth 4, Canny, and for image to image, we want colour 1. So that's our setup to refine. And now I'm going to add some LoRAs. So here's the first LoRA. This is, I just put it in at 1. It won't be going in at 1, it's too strong. But so this is Alma Tadema, who's a Victorian painter. And this is the result. Now I like a lot of the changes here. We've had a slight drop in quality, but we've had an increase in feel and stuff. So I've made, it's got quite a large change. I don't have to change it that much, but I quite like the result. And she's gone quite nice as well. She's gazing moronically up there, but to try and fight that, you see here's the LoRA, Alma. I've put in blue eyes, which should turn everything blue. But we've already got a blue dress, so I'm not too worried about that. But the blue eyes will probably make her look at us, which I think would be better for the picture. And I'm going to decrease the strength of the LoRA and have a look at what that goes like. So I shall take the LoRA down to 0.5 and see what we get. So here's the image returned with the LoRA lowered, which is rather nice. I love the feet, great. We might keep those and use those. And now we're starting in the area where I'm thinking I want to get images that I can use to put together a final in Photoshop. So once this styling is done, then her gaze is better, but not great. She's quite pretty. I like the figure generally, but I will probably alter the gaze in Photoshop unless we get lucky, but it'd only take a couple of strokes. But we're going to redo the figure in any case, so that can wait. So I think I'm happy with that, and I'm going to add another LoRA now to add a little bit more style and slickness. And this is a horribly strong LoRA I'm going to use. It's Alphonse Moucher. He is monstrously strong. I might not use him actually. He's too. I'll use another American illustrator that has much the same effect, which is Leyendecker. The trouble with Alphonse Moucher is you get lots of swirly stuff. There we are, JC Leyendecker, and we'll put him in at 50% as well, I think. And we'll just put his details in. A famous illustrator, so we have to put the tag in. So that's another LoRA, and this should add a little bit of slickness to the finish. They're two strong LoRAs, so I expect quite a strong change now. Here's after the application of Leyendecker, and we'll just put that up by the side so you can see the difference. You see everything is slightly more stylized, but also rather better finished. So it's added a degree of quality that we were missing before. Everything else looks fine. I still don't like her gaze, and we developed a sort of a little bit of something to annoy the hands there. I'm going to increase the Leyendecker to 6. At a certain point, Leyendecker goes quite decorative in the same way that Alphonse Moucher does, but not to any real degree. And I'm going to put in a prompt to sort the hands out, which one I found quite good is just elegant hands. The negative prompts, I don't know why people bother, to be honest. A positive prompt is far more powerful, and negative prompts, the word negative in the description of the panel is not what it does. The negative is a base from which to compare the rest. So I've got a couple of things in here. I don't want a photograph. I want to have bare legs or large breasts, so I go against that. And I think we can prompt on that. And there we go, there she is back. And we've had some improvements. So the hand is cleaned up a bit. Still some odds and sods there, but nothing very much. But the hands are both better. And it's sorted out the short arm. The gaze has to be sorted. But what we'll do now is we'll refine her and her arms and her face in the next stage. So we go back into Photoshop. So we'll just quickly show how she's come on. So I think that's, I prefer that quite a lot. So now I just want her face and I think her hands as tight as I possibly can to there. And I'll just check that that's okay on there, which it is. We put that in a new document and we make that 1024 and save that as face color. And we'll do the same with the depth, though we hardly need it really. I might make a depth map for her, I think. Right, so here we are in Photoshop, and do a square marquee and just chop her out and drop her into a new document. There she is. And we're going to refine her. So I want to chop out a bit of the Canny as well and paste that in. I don't want the depth map because I'm going to make a new depth map. I'm going to do this in Alpaca, but you can do it in Comfy. So this is a new depth map made from this image. There we go. So you see that makes quite a nice depth map. I'll do a little bit of a levels on it, and that's fine. So there we have then our depth map, our Canny map, and our colour map, and that should be sufficient. I will just edit the hand. Everyone knows hands are a problem. So that's slightly better hand. So that's our new depth map. So we've got depth map, Canny, and colour. Now I want to resize this document to 1024, and then we'll save off each of these maps. And this is going to be called face, ref, depth, finally face colour. So that done. So here we are back in Comfy, and I'm going to load those maps in. The face depth, the face Canny, and last but not least, the face colour. And I want to give it a little bit more leeway to change. Well, we'll have a look at that and see. So we'll prompt that. So here she is back, and as you see, she looks very good. So all I have to do now is drop her into the main picture. So for that we go back to Photoshop. So here she is. She should fit perfectly. Put a mask on her and paint her in. So we've got a really nice fit in there now. I just need to get rid of the hand here. There we have her. And there we have our finished image. I hope that was interesting. I would probably take that further forwards with more tests and LoRAs and so on to further refine. But you see the process and how flexible it is to come to a final image. Okay, thank you very much.